requirement on my part to read this item. As to the next items regarding approval of the Executive Director Superintendent Employment Agreement, I am required by law prior to any vote on the Executive Director Superintendent Employment Contract that the contract has a term of 27 months beginning April 1st, 2020 and ending on June 30th, 2022, and provides the following: an annual work year minimum of 224 days, an annual base salary of $160,000, which is recommended by the Compensation Committee. Number 3, sick leave to accrue at the rate of 1 day per month for a total of 12 days per year. Number 4, participation in designated employee health and other benefit programs and plans as are provided to the school's certificated employees. And item 5, participation in the CalSTRS program as applicable. I would also note that the annual salary is wholly in keeping with the compensation comparability study the board has received and is next on the agenda. Okay. Item number 13, consideration of approval ratification of the compensation comparability study for Executive Director Superintendent. Do I have a motion to approve?
Second.
Okay. Is there, and you all have a copy of it in your packet. Are there any questions or comments? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions. Item number 14, consideration of board ratification, approval of the Executive Director Superintendent contract.
Move to approve.
I'll second.
Is there any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? And abstentions?
Aye.
Okay. Mr. Matt Winheim, would you like to stand up? And we're going to adjourn our meeting for just a few minutes. Recess our meeting and have a little reception. And we can all meet Mr. Winheim and Mrs. Braswell. Welcome.
Yay.
We are recessed.
I need a cookie.
10 minutes?
Absolutely.
You wanted to adjourn.
I did want to adjourn.
Excuse me, want to watch Bernie's town hall?
Yeah.
I don't know how she's doing it, because I don't know how late they're staying tonight.
Congratulations.
Who's winning?
Jillian.
Oh, yeah.
Or did
I've
you
seen
see
someone
her?
else.
Oh, never mind, I got you covered.
Okay. No.
I like it.
Breathe. Breathe.
That's what I was telling you to do. Can I have you for 2 minutes?
You can.
Yeah, that's how I feel too. I can't even imagine.
Julie, thank you so much for coming today. I was glad you could make it.
Yes, I'm off to, I hate to leave, but I'm off to the college.
Thank you again.
You got it. How are you? Good to see you. I'm freshly sanitized. Oh my God, but now everyone is. I have met Mr. Henry. He works so hard with robotics. He's always involved in all of this. His daughter is a long-standing good friend of Carter's, so. I'm practically an employee at this Our finest volunteers. Thank you.
Great recommendation. I know you're leaving, so I don't want to tie you out. This is an engineering school.
I don't even call myself, I look at my shirt.
But anyway, that's all. Don't get me started, don't get me started. Okay, I don't want to put that in the school. I got all these down. We'll have to just put- Somewhere. I have a question for you.
And I will send you both tomorrow.
Yeah.
This is it. This is.
That's just a concept, this is just.
No. That's fine. But it really works.
Well, they really.
This is not my job.
Pains me to say that.
Really?
Three, 4 weeks now.
Really?
And mine has been for how many years? Okay. I'm talking about you, the wonderful job you do. We're talking about the subject.
Oh, okay, and her efforts to make sure.
And let me, I'll be back to you.
You know, reaching out and letting folks know, and,
I'm just crunching numbers, to make something make sense to me.
oh,
If
well,
we choose you,
well, no, I was.
Right, that's what, yeah, I wanna see that push, I'm up to like,
So I
if they get the
I
squares,
was
so
up in Lancaster,
they're close to where
and I
we're
just recently took a job, I did work job in Lancaster, and just did different.
Oh, absolutely,
I love it.
absolutely. Okay, what days are you here?
I try to come to these Wednesdays.
Okay.
So,
Well, no, I'm more planning flexibility.
Sure.
Okay, good, thank you.
All right, come on. I don't know his name. I've only been in West Side to do like reviews and stuff. I just stay with schools and stuff.
You know, really be a natural fit.
Thank you. See you later.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, Martha, I think it's an extra. I just need to know, are we?
Yeah, we're kind of grounded.
Yeah, we're kind of, because I already told you how sort of meetings us to do.
Yeah,
So,
you
plus
know.
I know you, it's not, it's
Right.
just, but we
But
don't
we
need to
get
get
closer.
this in. Yeah.
So
We'll
let
ask
me know.
that. I will.
All
I'll
right.
ask her tomorrow,
Okay,
if not
will do.
tonight.
All right.
Did you make these ones too?
I did not. I just made the lemon lime ones.
The lemon
lemon
bars
lime
were really
was
good.
delicious.
Well, let me tell you, Walmart wouldn't sell me a lime. I needed one lime. I buy a bag of lime.
Really?
What am I gonna do?
But that's Walmart.
With the
Sam's
rest of
Club,
these?
Walmart, it's, you got.
You take very good care of us.
Well, I tried. So I thought, okay, I'll try to use that for the lemon bar recipe and use some lime. So it didn't look very pretty on the top, that green stuff turned funny, but I used all the limes inside to get into the rest of it.
You know, I
Not
don't care
bad.
how it
They're
looks.
very good.
It's tasty.
For an experiment. My
And I'm
sister's
kosher to
recipe
lemon
on the
stuff.
top. Oh, I need to. My sister's recipe for the top art and then what's her name? Ina Garten, the barefoot Contessa, the bottom part for her, so. I love lemon bars and they came out pretty good. You have an experiment. Can I get you something else, some water?
No, this is
When
fine.
you're all good?
I'm really good.
Good,
I'm
good, good,
kind of
good.
overeating.
Yeah, you take too good care of us.
Yes, good.
If you're gonna make it, then the best thing to do is give most, eat one, eat 2 or 3, and then
Yeah.
get rid of them.
Yeah.
Because they're good, and then I don't eat the whole bag. A 9x13 bag is nice. So, it fills a need for me
Yeah.
to bring them here.
I used to do that a lot at work. I would bake things and then bring them in to share.
Uh-huh.
But I got busy when I went back to school and was still working. And and I haven't picked it up again.
For me, it's like I can do it on like Sunday afternoon. I can do that and I can be, because I'm not stressed, I don't have things to do, I don't have, you know. And so Monday they're ready, the red Tupperware lid comes and it puts on the counter. It makes me happy.
You know what? Stress level went completely down when I retired. It just, I didn't realize how much it was. I didn't
You don't
realize.
know how you're doing what you're doing, and then you retire, and then you find out. I used to do, this is like maybe 5 years ago, I would think, oh, you know, I can do this, oh, I can just add that, and just be a little bit more, this will just be that. When all the time I should have been thinking, get rid of everything.
Yes.
I mean, my brain was only a little more, when I should have been thinking, I need to get rid of all this stuff.
You know, that stress is a silent killer. I worked myself, and I don't know if you heard, I worked myself into a massive heart attack.
I
And
did hear
was
that.
forced to
Glad you're
retire.
here. Well, but a good thing.
Oh, for
as it
sure.
turns out.
It was like, as soon as I came to, it was like, oh, wow, this is how the other half lives.
It's good.
But you can't, there's no way to know.
You don't see that because
You
you're
don't
in
see
that spiral thing that just
Yeah.
keeps going and trying to do more and,
Yeah.
yeah.
And a little bit more is more than what you calculated to be.
You're exactly right.
You know, so.
You're right. Mark, did you get food?
I did, thank you,
Okay.
from both tables.
Michael, did you get food? Why not? Okay, anything at all you can have, or salad there, did you?
Yeah, I think this Matt's hire is gonna be a good thing.
The what, part of that?
Matt Winheim's hire,
Yeah.
that's gonna be a good thing.
Well, I worked with him 10 years ago,
Uh-huh.
when Tom Dale stole me away from the high school.
Uh-huh.
Just to start getting the STEM program set up and moving.
Okay.
And,
So you've seen his work product?
oh yeah, I work for him in a heartbeat.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
There's a sense of calm.
Mhm.
That's all gonna be taken
Right.
care of.
Without the without the arrogance. Oh yeah.
It's amazing you said that because I think, that's
Important.
all we got
Yeah.
the first time around.
Yeah, no.
I'm good, how are you been?
That's
That's always a good answer.
A lot different than these.
Yeah, so that's what I'm.
You have a certain level of confidence
What?
to be able to do that.
Has it been a year?
You know
Okay.
what?
I was seeing like, okay, whoever's sitting up front, you were running in and out more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I know, but I'm glad it was you that came through. Even if it's a little quirky.
Well, Patty and Gary asked to be excused tonight. They both had out-of-town commitments. Where's my?
I know.
Now I own this.
Not a bad switch.
No, not at all.
On these things, I need,
Oh, I.
We'll talk.
yeah.
Okay.
Usually it's usually a negative data,
Now-
but I just
I want that.
I need a link to the instructions, research.
Oh, well, we'll have a conversation, Jim. Okay. Welcome back. Okay, item number 15, consideration of approval of proposal for professional development and project development for student services and administrative staff. This is Jaggy.
This will continue the, if I may insert my personal opinion, the essential to our daily functioning here to continue with Mike Perkins to do what he's been doing in this absence of, in our restructuring, in our transition time. He's been invaluable, and when he's here, everything goes better with Mike, I'm just saying. So, I appreciate and I know I've talked too much. I appreciate his wisdom, I appreciate his experience, and when it's anything that's a difficult decision, I run it by him as well. That's how much I trust in these people.
And we
And
have,
he's here. I
and
thought
he
you were
is
gone
here.
when I was saying all this.
And we have nearly exhausted his current contract because our needs were much greater than I anticipated. And he's been here many more days a week than just the 2 we bargained for. So do we have any questions or comments from the board? Oh, we don't have a motion yet. I'm sorry. Thank you, Michelle. Do we have a second?
second.
Now, are there any comments or questions? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? The item passes. Item 16, consideration of approval of agreement for student services with Kathy Johnson. Mrs. Jaggi?
You caught me eating a cookie that our cafeteria made. It's delicious. This is required because of our status with disproportionality and special education. We're required to have technical assistance from a list of their providers. So if we go on the internet, we look at the 8 or so providers in Southern California, and we chose one. So that's why that's here, is it's a requirement. We have to send a copy of the signed contract to CDE, showing that we have engaged in these services.
And Mrs. Braswell will be working with Kathy Johnson as they go through the disproportionality and the reports back to CDE.
I think that's a yes.
It was a question, I'm sorry.
I apologize. I thought you were just informing me.
Oh,
Absolutely.
that was information, that wasn't a question.
Absolutely, should be working with them, just so you're aware. Nicole Moynihan, there's a special, one of the special ed meetings is tomorrow at PSD, and Nicole Moynihan, our program specialist, will be there to meet Kathy.
Oh, great.
And I'm sure Julie will meet her soon.
Okay, great.
I apologize.
Do I have a motion?
Seconded.
Are there any questions?
Do we have any references if we used this person in the past, or we just pulled off the list?
They said you will go to this list, and you will pull out this list, and our determining factor was that it was a 661 area code. I thought she would be closer to us than the Long Beach person. And so that's how we did that, and lo and behold, she lives in the Santa Clarita Valley, and she grew up here in the Anaheim Valley, so.
Are there any other questions? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? And the item passes. Item number 17, consideration of approval of the proposed 2020-2021 middle school, high school calendar. You will find a copy of the calendar in your packet.
Move to approve.
Second.
Mrs. Jaggi, is there anything particular about this calendar that you want to bring to our attention?
Just I would inform you that this mirrors our current calendar for the middle school and high school. Obviously it doesn't mirror the elementary school because of their delays in construction and all that, but we will all start at the same time. We will all have our major breaks at the same time. We will all end school at the same day of the year. So this is an improvement to our first year with an elementary school, and there it is.
Are there any questions?
I have a couple. In June, the light blues, the 7th and 8th, and it's got SI 1, 21, 22. I don't know what that notation is.
What that means is we have here Summer Institute. And so it's, I don't know why it says
Okay.
21, 22, but it's looking for, maybe we call it Summer Institute 1 when school is right out, and then Summer Institute 2 is later on.
Okay, yeah, that's
So
what
that's
it's
why, so they're starting the school year early. I mean,
Okay,
Yeah.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
The other concern I have is running finals the last 3 days of the semester, both first semester, second semester. And I look back and I noticed it's on this year's calendar too. I hadn't noticed it before. My concern with running final, and I'm all about running finals late because as soon as you're done with finals, we're done with school. It's like state testing, we're done. and I get that. But my concern is that late, if there's a glitch, if some kids' whole grade is based on what they can do on the final, and they miss it, there's makeup time and things like that, so, my personal feeling is it should be the week before, but that's my thought on it.
Well, I think the point is well taken, and I can bring it back to the group, the FACT group meets in here every Friday. And I'll ask the question, what's in place for makeups? Do we get most of it done on Wednesday, Thursday, and then Friday is the day to ensure that things are done? I know traditionally it has been the last 3 of the semester. But I will bring your point to them about what if this, what if that, does it give you time for grades and all that?
Right.
And
Yeah,
I think I can address that.
okay, when do the teachers have the grades in? So, I mean, all that fits in, so that's sort of the only thing that stuck out to me.
Good questions.
Shall we approve the calendar tonight if the board agrees and come back for revisions or table it? What is your preference?
My opinion is that from the parent side, they need to know soon. We don't meet for another month. And they're anxious to have their vacation days, their holidays, to plan their trips and stuff. I think Mr. Weiss's points are well taken. I think had I been here longer, I might be able to answer that appropriately. And tell you, well, this is what we've always done and this is how we've accounted for that. I can ask and make sure that's taken into account. But I know that it's always been the last 3.
Well, and in backup to that, my wife gave me direction to follow your feeling that we need to get it done tonight. So,
And
she's speaking from parent's perspective, I need to know when school starts, when school ends,
Certainly.
what are the major holidays, something like the final schedule. We could shift that's not gonna come, because it doesn't change childcare, which is a big concern, so I'm.
Well spoken.
and if
to
the
Mrs.
finals
White.
move a little bit, that doesn't change parents' plans.
Correct.
Are there any further comments or questions? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Calendar middle school, high school passes. Item number 18, consideration of approval of proposed 2020-2021 elementary school calendar. Mrs. Jaggi?
It's aligned with the one you just approved. It looks quite different, like I said, because of the construction this year. So they'll look forward. It will help us be more of one unit as opposed to 2 separate entities here.
It is in your packet.
Yep.
There's an elementary school.
I'll move to approve that one.
Okay.
Second?
Is there any questions, comments, concerns? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? The calendar for the elementary school is approved. Consideration of approval of revision to student policy number 038, mathematics placement policy. Could I have a motion, please?
Move to approve.
Second.
This policy was brought back to us from our attorneys. After they took a look at our last policy, which is fine, there were some tweaks that needed to make it
Legal.
well, yes, fine, legal. This brings it into accordance with Ed Code for the math policy. So that's why you're seeing it again so close. We just did it 4 or 5 months ago. Okay, so it's just a few little tweaks. Are there any questions, concerns? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? And abstentions? Board policy, the student policy passes. Consideration of approval of adoption of student policy number 039, transportation safety plan. Could I have a motion?
Move. Go ahead.
So moved.
Second.
And again, this comes to us from the attorneys. We were found lacking, and so we now have a transportation plan in accordance with what we need per Ed Code. Are there any questions, comments? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? The transportation policy passes. Item 21, consideration of approval, adoption of student policy 040, education for homeless children and youth policy. Could I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Again, this is from our attorneys. They recommend that we have this policy in place. In fact, it's mandatory that we do. There was a blank in the policy where we had to appoint the liaison. Mrs. Braswell, your name appears in the policy. As you and Mr. Winheim come on board, you may want to adjust that, but this allows us to approve the policy tonight. And again, Mrs. Marks, this has to go out to the students annually, right? Okay, so upon our approval, it will go out this week. Are there any further questions? Concerns? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Our education for homeless children and youth passes. Item 22, consideration of approval, adoption of student policy 041, education for foster and mobile youth policy. Could I have a motion, please?
Second.
Again, this policy comes by way of our attorneys. This is mandated that we have this policy. And I believe you are in this policy also, isn't it? Both policies, John? Yes. So, Mrs. Braswell, meet Mr. Winheim. Okay. Are there any?
Welcome to our school.
That's fine. I have a question about this one.
Sure.
The fact that it comes from the attorneys might answer it, but is it typical for foster and mobile youth to be combined into one policy?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
It is the way certain other laws are written,
Okay,
and this makes sure we gather,
okay,
okay?
thank you.
And if the board chooses, we could split them out into separate policies.
I was mostly just curious.
Okay.
I don't have the background in this area.
Are there any other questions? Concerns? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Our foster and mobile youth policy is approved. Consideration of approval of adoption of student policy 042, free and reduced price meals policy. May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Seconded.
And again, this is from our attorneys. They found our policy lacking in a couple areas, and this brings us up to make us compliant with both state and federal law regarding non-discrimination and overt identification. Are there any questions?
I don't know this question, but it was something that I read wrong. Wasn't it somewhere that I read that all the children were gonna get lunch regardless?
Not here,
Not here.
not here.
Okay.
That is the chartering district has that. We do not. It is something that we could explore for the future if the
Okay.
board wanted to look at that.
Oh,
Okay?
all right.
We do encourage as part of this policy, and the school has been encouraging it at any rate. Applications are always available, and we encourage all students to have their parents fill them out in case they are eligible. But we do already practice non-discrimination, and we don't identify. Okay? Are there any other questions? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? And the item passes. Consideration of approval, item 24, consideration of approval of revision to fiscal policy 01, fiscal policies and procedures. Could I have a motion, please?
A motion to approve.
I'll second.
This does not come from our attorney. This comes from your board chair. And this will allow us to conform our fiscal policies as to an item in the new executive director's contract, because that was not in the previous fiscal policy. That is the only change. Jillian, the other half of my brain, that is the only change. Okay. Are there any other questions? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? And the fiscal policy is approved. Item number 25, board director reports. And I'm just going to go around the room. Mr. Scott,
I have no report.
Mrs. Huerta,
I have no report.
Mrs. McIsaac.
2 weekends ago, I attended the first robotics Los Angeles North Regional competition. Our local team, FRC 5012 Griffin Gear was there. It was a great event. The students put a lot of work into preparing for it. And they will be competing again in 3 weeks, the first weekend of April here in Lancaster.
At Eastside
At
High.
Eastside High School. So I just wanted to encourage everyone to go see what they do. That competition is a lot more accessible since it's local. It's free and open to the public. It will be going on all day, Friday, April 3rd and Saturday, April 4th. So if you want to stop by for 30 minutes, go talk to the team and see what they put so much work into, I highly recommend it.
Great, thank you. Mr. Weiss,
I have nothing to report.
Dr. Porter.
Well, no, I would like to welcome the 2 people that were recognized today, Julie Braswell and Matt Wenheim. Really critical pieces in our restructuring plans, and it's great to have you guys on board. I look forward as a board member to work with both of you.
Mrs. Wilkins.
So I attended the awards ceremony, I guess it was a couple of weeks ago now. Never cease to be amazed by the volume of kids that are getting all A's in all of their classes and are making that list. It was a really big crowd, and I think it was a nice evening. I'm always glad to participate in those, and I would like to encourage all of our other board members, if you are available to do it. The kids really appreciate having that support and having that engagement. I know it means a lot to our families as well. Also would like to welcome the new members of our team. It's good to see people with such robust experience and such critical skills coming to support our school right now. It's very exciting. And also would like to echo Ms. McIsaac's statement that on the robotics competition coming up, I went last year, thought I was gonna stay for about 15 or 20 minutes, had such a good time that I think we were there for 3 or 4 hours. It was hard to leave. So, you know, not only to support our team, but just to see this really exciting thing that's happening in our community right now. I think it's, you know, the bigger the crowd, and I think that our kids would be really grateful to know that they have that support out there as well. So, that's all I've got.
And I would echo the welcome to my friends. I'm so excited to have you. I know our students and staff are too. I will report that the big charter school conference, which was to run next week in Long Beach for 4.5 days, Paul,
Correct.
has been canceled due to the coronavirus. And as I mentioned, the coronavirus, I'm sure many, if not all of you, saw our staff out cleaning and sanitizing and sterilizing. Paul is in charge of that effort, and he's doing great work making sure that we are as sanitary as we can be. And we are encouraging, what do we call them, Michelle? Elbow knobs? We're going to do that. So we want to make sure that students and staff are safe here and don't come down with anything. It seems to me I had one more thing to say, but I have forgotten it. So,
Move to adjourn.
I have a second?
Wait, CEO report.
That was,
Oh,
Mrs. Jackie.
how soon we forget.
Well, she's both bowing to your,
Yeah,
direction.
that was Dr. Porter who jumped the gun.
Well, you were the one that was like, space
Just a
ranger.
couple of quick things. I do want to mention that we did have our very first Read Across America, Dr. Seuss, come and do the cat in the hat thing last week, and it was very well done with some lovely items with the cafeteria, with kids from the high school coming over and reading to the other kids. Thursday was Green Eggs and Ham Day, etc. So I do want to mention that that was our first time out as far as Read Across America for elementary school. Also remind you that from the 20th to the 27th is spring break for middle school, high school. Elementaries had a little bit different schedule because they had days to make up, but we will be on spring break from Friday the 20th through the 27th. And then robotics was the third thing on my list. I appreciate your telling them the dates, Ms. Isaac letting you know those dates of April 3rd and 4th. It's the closest one to you. I didn't tell you too much about Newberry Park. I'm telling you now, we're going to Ventura on the 19th, 20th, and 21st. This is your best and greatest opportunity to see them up close. And they do notice, and the parents notice when you're there. It just adds that little oomph of support that, yeah, we know we have a great robotics team and we're here to do that. And if you find Miss Ivancic, look for her. She'll introduce you to the kids, take you to their pit. You have to wear closed-toed shoes. When you go to the pit, you have to wear some safety glasses that they provide for you. But what a big statement it means to the parents when they see the board members there. I'm just letting you know, after having talked to some parents. So that would make everybody happy and feel really important. If you can squeeze that little bit of time over to Eastside High School on April 3rd and 4th, right? It would be great. So I'm seconding with her, and that's it for me.
And as an adjunct to my report, it's not what I wanted to say, but I will go. I can go one of those 3 days. The day is open. If you'll contact Jillian, I can take 2 or 3 of you. If you want a carpool, I can't take more than that because we violate the Brown Act. But if you'd like a little company riding down, let Jillian know. And would you mind, Jillian, arranging that, okay? Because I think it's exciting. I started to go last year to Eastside and got diverted by a family problem. I watched it online, and it was even online. It's pretty good. So, all right. If there are no other pieces, Dr. Porter?
Move to adjourn. I've been saving that all night.
Have a second?
Second and third.
All those in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned.
Do we give you